Hello everybody, my name is Reggie Gackett and I want to welcome you to the 12th webinar of the year and the third webinar of the 2020 Spring Family Webinar Series. I am the Assistant Director in the First Year Center and tonight I'm joined by my colleagues from each of the undergraduate academic divisions. We will introduce them shortly. However, before we begin, we want to acknowledge that some of you may have students who are currently abroad and have questions or concerns about the rest of the semester given the unknowns of COVID-19. As that situation is changing daily and each circumstance is unique based on the study abroad program and location, we will not be answering those questions this evening. Instead, our conversation will focus on the overall study abroad experience, including how to research and select the correct program with your student, how your student can apply, what resources are available, and how you can support your student contemplating studying abroad. If you have any questions, please visit emergency.wustel.edu. For those of you who have attended our webinars in the past, you may have also noticed that we are using a different venue for tonight's webinar. Due to spring break being held this week, we have decided to move forward with tonight's webinar into a different space on campus. What this means for you is that the PowerPoint slides for this evening are now housed in an online folder with the link in which we're posting the chat box now. Please feel free to pull up the PowerPoint slides and to follow along as we move through tonight's conversation. We are excited that you have chosen to join us for tonight's conversation. Some additional information before we get started. First, you will notice that you've been given the ability to submit messages to us during the webinar using the chat function. Please use this feature to ask us questions. These questions will only be seen by our staff in the First Year Center and our panelists. Two of our professional staff within the First Year Center are helping to field these questions. We will answer those we find applicable to the audience as a whole on the webinar, and we'll respond to more nuanced or personal questions via email next week. Let's go ahead and make sure you know how to use the chat function. Send us a chat with the location you're watching from, and we'll name a few of these on air. While you're doing that, the webinar is being recorded live. Next week, we will upload this webinar to families.wustel.edu website. Lastly, in a moment, we will hear from our panelists about study abroad opportunities here at WashU. If something our panelists say sparks a question, don't forget to chat us. After hearing from our panelists, we will move into the Q&A portion of the evening. If you have questions for a specific panelist, please either list their name on the academic division, when submitting a question. We will answer questions after all panelists have had the opportunity to talk about their programs within their specific academic division. Before passing things along to panelists, I want to share one of the places that people are joining us from. We have families tuning in from Cleveland, Ohio, St. Louis, Missouri, and New York City. Now, since I know that you all want to hear more about study abroad, I will turn it over to our first panelist, Amy Spalzer, Director of Overseas Programs in the College of Arts and Sciences.
Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning in. Talking about study abroad is one of the things I most enjoy, so I'm happy to have this opportunity and hopefully an audience who's already invested in this opportunity for their students. As Reggie mentioned, I am the Director of Overseas Programs for the College of Arts and Sciences. So we work with students with majors, second majors, minors in arts and sciences who are interested in studying abroad specifically through that discipline. In arts and sciences, we have over 100 approved programs in over 50 countries. This list is revisited regularly, programs are added, programs may be subtracted, but we always have a very robust set of offerings for our students in arts and sciences. These include pretty much all academic terms: fall, spring, academic year, summer, and roughly 40% of the students in arts and sciences study abroad each year. So we feel that study abroad is really an integral part of a lot of our students' academic experience, and we want to make study abroad a good fit for our students. We want students to study abroad through an academic area of concentration, whether that's a major, minor, or what we call an area of significant concentration like advanced foreign language study or pre-health. And programs are individually approved by academic departments because of the unique suitability of the curriculum that's being taught abroad for their subject area. A lot of our programs are going to allow students opportunities that go beyond just the academics. Some of our programs incorporate internships, community-based volunteer experiences, research, as well as opportunities beyond those areas. So what we like to make possible for students who are looking for an academic experience with something else is the ability to identify a study abroad program that will provide both. We also feel that study abroad can be a really important means for our students to build personal skills, interpersonal, intercultural, as well as professional skills, whether that is leadership, intercultural communication, and perhaps more than anything else, adaptability. It is remarkable what the opportunity to be abroad, to navigate a new language, a new culture can do to help a student recognize some internal skills that they have already been building through their lives, but then really have an opportunity to apply while they're abroad. More than anything else, study abroad provides the opportunity to do something new. The experience abroad is inherently going to be different than their experience on campus, and so an opportunity to explore new things for themselves. When we start thinking about the requirements for study abroad, we're looking at a couple of different things. We're certainly looking for academic suitability. We really want to make sure our students can be successful abroad, and in order to help make sure that that is possible, we make sure that they're successful on campus. So usually we're looking for a 3.0 GPA. We're looking for students who are in good standing within the WashU community. We are looking for students who have a major or minor or area of significant concentration relevant to the program that they've identified and that they'd like to apply for. Our students can study abroad at pretty much any moment in their academic career at WashU. It can be as soon as the summer after their first year. It can be as late in some cases as fall semester of their senior year. It just depends on what works best for your student and when the program seems to fit best. Finally, some programs are going to have additional requirements, whether those are GPA requirements, prerequisite requirements. Those are things that we always try and make sure our students are aware of as they're making their program choices and as they're applying to their study abroad program. If a student is interested in study abroad, we want to make sure that they're getting a lot of good input from people who can help them with that decision. That is going to include the professional staff in my office. There are 6 of us who do advising for study abroad programs, and these are our study abroad professionals. These are people who know their programs well, who know study abroad within the university context well, and provide some really good information for our students. Additionally, we have 2 peer advisors in our office who can provide a student-to-student perspective and again, help provide some of that basic guidance to help move a student in the right direction. Because all study abroad programs are approved for specific majors and minors, we also have experts within each individual academic department in arts and sciences. That is the student's point person for academic questions. Can this course count for my major? What do I need to be thinking about in terms of the total number of credits I could do for my arts and sciences major? And things of that nature. And then finally, we have a group of students who've returned from study abroad, excited about their experience, who are really interested in talking to prospective students. These are our study abroad ambassadors. Where possible, we try and refer prospective students to students who have been on their program or been on a program similar to it. We also often will encourage students to talk to other students who share their major about the experience of studying abroad through that major.
Thank you for sharing that insightful information, Amy. As a reminder for families, we will answer questions after all panelists have had the opportunity to talk about programs within their specific academic division. Now, we're going to hear from Maureen Wysocki in the Olin School of Business.
Thank you all for joining us. My name is Maureen Wysocki. I'm a global and academic advisor in the Olin undergraduate office. So I'm going to be speaking more to our specific VSBA portfolio programs. So this first slide, you'll see why study abroad. A lot of these reasons are the same for business students and all WashU students, but some things that we highlight for why this is important, specifically for our VSBA students, is it adds value to the VSBA degree, provides students with talking points for behavioral interviews. When students come back from their abroad experience, they're constantly hearing how their experience abroad allowed them to really elaborate and talk about some specific things during their interview and some stories and obstacles they overcame that really helped them stand out and shine during their interview that they wouldn't have had if they'd studied abroad. It also enhances our students' skills. By the nature of living abroad, they learn to face the ambiguity, they become more independent, adaptable, and flexible. And of course, another thing we always like to remind students is exploring the world and having fun and meeting new people is a goal of studying abroad beyond academics. We want to encourage our students to get out of the classroom and see the world, meet new people, and enjoy their semester abroad. And another aspect of study abroad that we really take into account are what our employers say, the people who are hiring our VSBA students. 73% of employers cite study abroad as important when evaluating resumes of junior level positions. And then these are some top traits that students gain while they're abroad that employers really place value on and are excited about when they see our students. Managerial ability, strategic international understanding, substantive knowledge, and cross-cultural. And as you'll see that U.S. participation in study abroad has more than tripled over the past 2 decades. 1 in 10 students has gone abroad. However, in the VSBA side, about 62% of our students study abroad. So it's more of an expectation. We want to encourage our students to be more than that 1 in 10 so they can really stand out when they go out into the world and apply for jobs. We hear a lot from students when they're considering studying abroad, some myths and perceived barriers that we want to address and highlight now for why a student should consider studying abroad and potentially a location that they never considered before. So it's too expensive. Financial aid and scholarships are available. Students who go abroad for a semester pay their WashU tuition and receive their financial aid and scholarships towards that semester. It will delay graduation, as Amy mentioned. All of our offices have advisors to help students plan their study abroad career and their semester abroad or their summer abroad to help meet their academic and degree requirements so that it doesn't delay their graduation. Not speaking of foreign language, our VSBA portfolio, there are only a small handful of programs that require foreign language proficiency. The rest of our programs, even in non-English language speaking countries, are open to students without a background in that language. And then having a summer internship. This is incredibly important for our juniors who go abroad on their spring semester. They generally need to be back by June 1st to start their summer internship. And we offer programs that allow students to return to the US to begin their internship in time without any delay. So that's something that we prioritize and we really help advise students to choose programs that fit those needs. And then here you'll see a list of our global experiences. Our study abroad programs, these are locations, a more traditional study abroad program where you go abroad for a semester. You take a semester of between 12 and 15 credits. And then the short-term programs are between 1 week and 6 weeks to a variety of locations. ISBA being one of our most popular summer programs, the Israel Summer Business Academy, that takes place in Tel Aviv every summer. And then our internship programs are very uniquely Olin. Students go abroad for the entire semester. For half of this semester, they take courses, and the other half of the semester, they do an internship. This is something we really encourage our students to consider if they want that international work experience that they wouldn't get on a traditional study abroad program, but still gives them that international experience. And then for the class of 2025, so not yet this class, but an incoming class, Olin has passed the global mindset requirement where students either meet a list of requirements or have a study abroad experience. And so that's something we're really excited about to encourage all of our students to go abroad.
Great, thank you, Maureen. Up next, we have Dean Melanie Osborne with the McKelvey School of Engineering.
Hi everyone, my name is Melanie Osborne and I work in the School of Engineering. I'm a senior assistant dean. My primary job is advising, academic advising, but I'm also in charge of study abroad for engineering students. The great thing about going third was that my colleagues, Amy and Maureen, covered all the great ideas, points, and benefits of studying abroad. So for engineering students, it's the same thing. We want students to get out, see the world, find out what academics are like in other places, what it's like to live in another place, and all those benefits of tenacity and dealing with ambiguity and self-reliance are very important for engineering students as well. The first slide under engineering lets you know that engineering students can study abroad. A lot of people come to our admission sessions and say, well, my student's engineering, so now they can't study abroad. That is definitely not true. Our students do study abroad. It is a small amount of students. It's probably 10%, but it has grown substantially. Right now, there are 48 engineering students who are abroad. And our locations do vary by what level the student is, what kind of program they want to attend, and they can also pick summer to do their general ed or humanities and social science credits, or they can go for their major requirements during the semester. I just want to put in a plug for the lovely girl that's sitting in this picture. She's looking out over Cape Town, South Africa. She and her now husband both went to Cape Town. They were chemical engineering students. They met, and on Valentine's Day this year, they went back together to celebrate their favorite place on Valentine's Day. I can't guarantee your student will find a significant other, but they will surely have a great time wherever they go. This is a list. The next set of slides are a list of the locations, and the slide is pretty long. There's several slides, so 2 slides. You'll see that there are a number of locations, mostly where the language of instruction is in English and where the locations do not have English as the first language of the country. There is instruction in English. So that's very important. What you'll also see is that there are many places that say CSE after the location name. That's computer science or computer science and engineering. Engineering students in every major can study abroad, but the locations are more limited for some students by major. Computer science is everywhere. As the Associate Chair of Computer Science and Engineering says, where there is oxygen, there is computer science. So the locations that say CSE, those locations are only for computer science. A student can only go there for computer science. However, the other locations, almost all of them, a computer science student can also go to those locations. And then a student does need to talk to me about the other locations and if that works for their major. Like the other schools, engineering has some basic requirements. We all at Washington University follow the 3.0 GPA. Some locations will have slightly higher GPA requirements. And as Amy said, we are looking for students that are in good standing with our community. So when a student studies abroad, we do check. So if the student has had problems, we have conversations with those students and decisions are made about their study abroad. Engineering coursework is approved ahead of time. I will meet with the students, work with the departments. We have a running list of places, locations, and courses that are approved. That's a database that everyone can access. And then a student needs to talk with me if they want to go to a location that we have not yet approved, or if they want coursework that hasn't been approved. Let's see, we also say you can fulfill major requirements. Everyone else has kind of covered that, but we do the same. And we have deadlines, the same deadlines that for most of the other programs. If a student's looking to go in the summer or fall, they need to apply by February 1st. And for spring, it is May 1st. And that is it for engineering.
Thank you, Dean Osborne. Our last panelist for the evening is Courtney Kuchard, representing the Sam Fox School of Design and Visual Arts.
Hi everyone, I'm Courtney. Thanks again for joining us. Absolutely. Thanks for coming. So I'll talk about the Sam Fox School Study Abroad programs. That is my main responsibility as coordinator for special programs in the school. We're the smallest school on campus with our art and architecture programs, and thus we have a very specific and contained program in Florence, Italy. We found that over our years of experience in trying various different programs and locations at Florence, and our partners there have provided an exceptional place for our students in art and architecture to get that international experience, but also one that is super relevant to the history and both the history and the contemporary needs of their degree and their education. So Florence is a beautiful city. It's a wonderful place. I love that our students get to go there. the fact that it's this amazing, contemporary city that's set, of course, in like the historic nature of the architecture and city structure is just a real benefit and a real difference in the way students live and learn in that place. And so it's very unique to us. I mentioned that we have a partner there that we've been working with for over 30 years to provide academic and sort of student services support with our students. So it's really great because those staff and faculty have come to know our program and our students very well. They meet the same high expectations as students would here on campus related to their degree work. So we have both semester and summer programs. Depending on which major track a student is following in the Sam Fox School depends on which semester they go abroad. So we make sure to align our program academically with like the best semester for them. So for example, if you are an architecture major, getting a Bachelor of Science in Architecture, we found that the fall of senior year is really the best semester for those students to have that international experience. It's a really nice transition point into their capstone work, and then also into sort of launching them into like a more global environment to consider what might happen post-graduation, whether that's graduate school or an internship, or often like living and working abroad for a while to decide what comes next for them. If a student is majoring in studio art or fashion design on the art side of things, we found that within the curriculum that works best in the fall of junior year. So that's when those students go abroad. With the architecture students, that all happens in the fall. It's really nice because a lot of cross collaboration happens there between the architecture, fashion, and art students that doesn't always happen here on campus. So it's like a really exciting thing that's unique to Florence. And then communication design, one of our most popular majors, those students have sort of a more traditional slot for their study abroad program, which is the junior spring semester. So we actually have made exciting transitions in many of the programs where local faculty, local Italian faculty that are professionals in their careers have joined our teaching staff to sort of immerse students in a really sort of Italian way of thinking and learning about design and architecture and art. And I've heard nothing but rave reviews about those programs. It's really exciting for our students to make those really international connections with their faculty who also have professional colleagues. And it's amazing they get to do that. The art history course, which you see an image of on the second slide, that happens both in the semester and the summer, is one of the sort of quintessential core parts of studying, especially in Florence, Italy. Getting to visit the artworks, the galleries, the museums, the churches, all in person, seeing artwork in real life is an unforgettable and life-changing experience that our students get to have, so that's really fun. The summer program is meant to be a more flexible option. So for the students that maybe are second majoring or minoring in the Sam Fox School, or also they're majoring in the Sam Fox School, say example a degree, bachelor's degree in art, but they're also pursuing the business minor in arts, right? The summer program offers a way to earn those 2 degrees still within 4 years with perhaps just 1 extra semester summer program for study abroad. So it's a nice sort of condensed program, 2 months in the summer, that gives a student nearly a full semester of credits, 10 credits in either art or architecture to move forward with their degree program. So the following slides are just a few images of what our students experience in Florence. So we have a private studio in the Palazzo Pandolfini, where each student has their own desk and workspace. The faculty have an office there as well. So collaboration happens on a daily basis within that space. We also have shared studio art spaces, including a beautiful printmaking workshop or work studio that you can see here. We also have others, including a 3D space for woodworking, welding, jewelry making, fashion design studios with full sewing machines and model forms, painting studios, drawing studios, things like that. And then we can't, of course, forget that Florence itself is a beautiful workplace. Going on site is one of the key parts of the courses there. I think students spend quite a bit of time like outside, on site, sketching both the landscapes and the architectural spaces in Florence. And then our program is also really heavily invested in field trips and making sure that students take advantage of all the places that are really closely accessible. So field trips include going to Venice for the Biennale, which you see here on the final slide, Rome, Milan, and various other sites throughout Italy, depending on like what the local museums have installed or the exhibitions that are happening during the time that they're studying abroad. So yeah, and of course we can't talk about living in Italy without talking about the food. So students have a great experience regardless of whether that's learning to cook for themselves and trying new Italian recipes in their own furnished apartments, or eating fresh homemade Italian food with their Italian homestay family. So that's just a couple of fun things about our program, and then I guess we're happy to take questions.
Yeah, thank you everybody. While hearing you all speak, I wanted to ask an initial question that I think families may be wondering. So how many credits do students usually take while studying abroad?
If we're talking about an academic semester, it's usually going to be very comparable to what a student would be taking on campus. Minimum of 12, usually somewhere between 12 and 16, depending on the individual program. But I think all of our programs are constructed in such a way that it will allow a student to stay on track with their graduation timeline as long as they take a full load of credits.
What does a summer typically look like in terms of credits?
I would say there is no typical summer.
Yeah.
So for Olin, our programs range from 3 credits to 6 credits. There are partner programs that are also could be more than that. So summer programs really vary across the board and depends on what a student's interested in, the location, and then what the offerings are.
I think there are some summer programs where a student could choose to do session 1, 2, 3, depending on the program. So a lot of our partners where we send students to study abroad, they might take 1 class each session, but they could stay for 2 sessions and get 6 units of credit.
Got it. Thank you. So we're not going to move into some of the live question and answer portion of the webinar. So for students planning on studying abroad in the future, what does that process look like? So for instance, do students rank their preferences and then get matched? Do they pick one program to apply to? What does that sort of look like?
It depends on the school. In engineering, a student picks one program. We as in I guess, help them with choosing that program. I'm happy to connect them with students who have been on that program. We look at classes where the most classes are available to them depending on the year. But we do ask that they choose only one program.
In arts and sciences, it's the same. So we encourage students to choose one program. If we as advisors have any concerns, either because of program capacity or we feel a student might be a little bit borderline in terms of admission, we'll be talking to that student as we go, making sure that they have a plan B in mind. But usually we ask them to apply directly to the program that they're most interested in, and then we work with them if we need to.
And then at Olin, students do apply to one program, but within that application, they list their second and third choice, alternate choice, and then students do very often get placed in a second or third choice. And so the lead up to the application, similar to my colleagues, we really work with students to advise them on what are their choices, not just their first choice, but second and third, to make sure they find a fit that fits with them, with what their goals are, academically, professionally, and personally.
I would also mention, and similarly for the Sandbox School, ours is a little bit simpler, right? You apply for Florence. And the students in the Sandbox School do have other opportunities. They can, if they're second majoring or minoring in a different program, approach that program also and do perhaps multiple study abroad programs, like perhaps they do Florence plus another one from arts and sciences or something like that. So that's an option. They should always talk with their academic advisor about that. That's a really good place to start because they meet with that person on a regular basis. They can also attend, we have a study abroad fair. When is that in the fall?
We have one
usually
in the
have
fall,
one.
and then I believe Olin hosts one in the spring.
And then also in the spring.
Also present.
Yeah, so that's a really great spot for students to learn about multiple different opportunities. If there's, only one time that works for them, say they can only do it like this summer, then, they can start planning for that and research opportunities within that. Or if they're interested in like a semester program, but they're not sure which one, they can also come to that fair to learn more about what's available and then also talk with their advisors. So I think sort of within each school and then also those pooled sort of events, it's nice because the students have access to lots of resources.
We've had a number of folks ask, when accepted into a program, will students register for classes with their WashU advisor or with their host institution?
So students are always going to be registering for classes with the host institution, but they're consulting on their course choices with people here at WashU. In arts and sciences, if a student is hoping to earn major or minor credit, they need to be communicating with the study abroad advisor in that particular academic department to make sure the courses that they've identified are going to be suitable and will be transferable as major or minor credit. Sometimes they will be checking with their four-year advisor just to make sure the course choices that they've made, again, are going to keep them on track for graduation.
For engineering, a student would work with me, not with their academic or their faculty advisor, but I would be working with the department to make sure the classes are approved.
Great.
And I can speak to the Florence program a little bit, and I think most programs also have this. In the semester before student studies abroad, we have a preparation seminar. So that's because our program is run by WashU, we register the students in that semester. I know that you guys also have a preparation seminar for students before they go abroad to, get them set up to be really successful there in whatever program they're attending.
So we've received a number of housing questions for everybody. So if accepted into a study abroad program, is housing guaranteed, or will students need to find their own housing? Is it dependent on the program?
Yes.
The
latter.
Yes.
Great. Do most students find housing on their respective university campuses?
I think it depends very much on the program they choose. And I'm sorry that this is going to be an answer that we give a lot.
Yeah.
So there are a number of our programs that would allow, either allow or require a host family. Obviously those families are not going to be living on campus. There are some programs that do have students in student housing of that university, whether that is on campus or off campus. So the answers, I'm afraid, are quite variable.
So for students who are living off campus while abroad, how long is the average daily commute for students to and from campus?
And that varies. We, in many of our programs, we contract with a third-party provider, and at least in engineering and arts and sciences, and also in Olin. And that third-party provider helps us make sure students have housing that works. I have to say, I've visited places where the housing is on campus. I've visited places where the housing is, a 20-minute bus ride, but that is the norm for that campus, that everyone's doing that. The native students are doing that as well.
So the last question regarding housing, how do folks pay for housing, and are costs similar to WashU rates? Are they different? Is this also program specific?
It depends.
Yeah.
So in many cases, housing will be billed through the WashU student billing account. It will not be WashU on-campus housing charges. It will be unique to the program that they're attending. There are some instances where students are going to be paying housing directly to the dorm or housing provider abroad. That is certainly the case for some of our programs. And the costs can be quite variable as well. And much of it depends on the economy of the location where they are. Housing is likely to be more expensive in Copenhagen than it would be in Vietnam. I mean, that's just part of the reality.
Are students able to create their own study abroad experiences, or must they attend the program already offered by WashU?
At Olin, we do offer students to apply for what we call a petition program. They submit an application, and then they kind of make an argument about why this program specifically is necessary for their academics. So making the case for how this will help improve their academic experience. Not just they want to go to Bali, but why is this institution or the program or the course not an experience, an academic experience they could get at another program that we offer. We don't have very many petition programs or students that do petition programs, but it is something that we talk students through the process if it's something they're interested in.
Sam Fox has the same thing.
As does arts and sciences. I think that one of the things that is probably common across our different divisions is that our spectrum of program offerings that are already approved are really quite broad. And so being able to formulate an argument to make a strong academic justification for a petition program is not always easy to do. So we try and meet need with the programs that we already approve, but certainly if a student has a very unique set of needs, we have a petition process to allow them to explore those.
I think with the Sandbox School in particular, because we know we're a small school and we have one really robust, great offering, we know that sometimes students are looking for a slightly different experience. So we do encourage them to look at other WashU programs, but I would say it's maybe a little more common in the Sandbox School for students to try to pursue a petition route, just because there are so many different types of art schools in the world that they might find something that's really particularly important to them that they can't get through a more generalized program. So I do my best to work with those students to assess their academic and personal argument for this, and then also be able to hone that message as we take it to the chairs and the registrar and our deans and things like that for approval.
I think it's important, especially for engineering students, to think about the language issue. So Arts and Sciences sends many students to study a language. If you're going to study engineering, you're not studying a language. So you need to go to a country where they instruct in English. Students come in all the time and say, I want to go to Europe. I really want to go to France or Germany. And then when I say, do you speak German or French? No, they do not. So since they don't instruct in engineering in English in those countries, anywhere I can find, they're not going to be going to Germany or France. So they need to really be thinking about the language and why they're studying in that country before they pursue any kind of petition option.
Great, thank you. Can students apply their WashU financial aid to their tuition while abroad?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great.
And if they have housing, a tuition package or an aid package that covers housing, that applies as well.
Great.
And they should talk to Student Financial Services.
Perfect.
I will make one caveat, and I don't know if it's different for you guys. That rule applies for our semester programs. Summer programs, because they are elective, meaning optional for a student, student can choose to do it or not. Financial aid doesn't automatically carry over to the summer. So again, doesn't mean no financial aid is available. It just means the student should talk to their financial services advisor about the details of how that will work out for them.
As an expansion on that question, do you know if a student can use their 529 accounts for tuition and housing?
I believe that's why you talk to Student Financial Services.
I believe so.
I would think
Since
so.
tuition is charged through Washington University, payment is being made to the university, housing often is. I think it's reasonable to assume, yes, more likely than not.
Great.
Yeah.
But talk to Student Financial Services.
And we will put the contact information for Student Financial Services into the chat function now. How is travel to and from the program booked? And how are those costs handled? Is that by the university or the student? Is that also program specific?
Yes. Yes, it is.
For most of the programs for Olin, students purchase their own flights. They're told on what day to arrive and where to arrive, and depending on the program, how they then get from the airport to the next location of their program. Does depend, but in general, students travel on their own.
For Sandbox.
Yes, I think for arts and sciences, there are a small number of programs that have optional group flights, but most of them, the students will book on their own. And this allows families the flexibility of city of departure, whether they're using frequent flyer miles, whether they have layovers or intermediate.
Are university-sponsored excursions included in the cost of tuition, or do students?
Answer. It depends. It depends on the program. For the Sandbox School, for example, we have a certain number of field trips, approximately 3 that are included in the semester or the summer program. And those show up as like an activities fee, a line item that the student pays separately for tuition. Again, that price is determined by the best price we can get available for group bookings for things like train tickets and museums and hotels and things like that. I would assume that other programs have optional field trips that students can sign up for once they're already on site.
It depends on our program. So for example, on some of our exchange programs where students then enroll as a student at that institution, there might be clubs that do excursions or events that they can sign up and go on. They might have a first year center like this that hosts events for them. And so those types of extra excursions come in a variety of different ways, and how the students might find out about them or sign up for them or pay for them. There would be a number of ways they could do that.
Are there resources to help students who have already studied abroad talk about their experiences in the job or internship processes?
Oh, absolutely. So both the Career Center that serves Arts and Sciences, Sam Cox School and Engineering, and Weston Career Center both work with students to make sure they can translate the experiences they've had, the skills they've acquired into their future job applications and interviews.
Great, thank you. We have a number of folks asking, is there a specific program you would recommend for students on the pre-health track?
Oh gosh. Oh, there are so many options.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the important thing to say is that there is no one way to study abroad as a pre-health student. There are a number of programs that offer really interesting opportunities for pre-health students, whether those are more experiential learning programs with a public health focus that might get them engaged in within a community, learning about the health portfolio in that place from local experts. For a student who is more interested in the research or the bench science behind medicine, we have some outstanding universities with biomedical science, biomedical chemistry programs that a student could look at. And for some pre-health students, what they're really looking for is an opportunity to hone language skills, particularly Spanish language skills, foreign language skills that they hope to apply in their profession. And so looking at a program that's going to have that focus that might allow them to engage extracurricularly in things related to health and community can be a wonderful way to go.
I think a lot of pre-health students will study abroad to make themselves the best candidate for medical school. And the experiences that Amy mentioned those are something that sets students apart. And that is something to talk about in your med school interviews. One thing a pre-med student or pre-health student wants to be careful about is not taking the core pre-health requirement courses abroad. They may not be accepted by the medical school or the application process. So they need to talk to their pre-health advisor about the courses that they're taking.
Do the study abroad representatives within each of the academic divisions communicate and or check in with WashU students regularly while they are abroad?
So yeah, at Olin we offer, it's a required half-credit course that students take while they're abroad. It's online, managed through our office, where students are doing assignments that require them to reflect on their experience, talk about the country that they're in, their host country, their academics, and so that is one way that we are weekly and monthly keeping up on them through their assignments and communicating with them. And then of course just, we like to touch base and send them an email and ask for pictures and see what they're doing. So a number of ways that we stay in touch with them.
So we're going to ask one last question for the evening as a reminder. Any questions that we were not able to answer during the webinar will be addressed via email directly to the person who posed the question. Panelists, thank you all so much for the information that you've shared tonight. One last question. What is one last piece of advice for families of WashU students contemplating studying abroad?
Sorry, I can think of about 15 different things. I just need to come down to one answer. So I think I would really encourage your student to make sure that they're talking to their academic advisors as they are in this planning phase, just to make sure that they are staying on track with their requirements, that they're making choices that seem to make sense given their academic trajectory. And I think that it's important that parents be present and supportive but really allow a student some agency in this process. Getting through the application, making the program suggestion, all of those are places where families really very much want to provide support for their students, but it's important that the student is doing a lot of the legwork themselves just to make sure that they're really invested in what they're doing.
I would say, I agree with Amy that a student should be driving this process. I did not study abroad, and I did send 2 students to study abroad, my own children. And I think it's a great opportunity. It's fabulous. It's travel, it's education. But if your student does not want to study abroad, if they are telling you I'm a little anxious, or you know that your student is better staying in one place, listen to them. If they tell you I'm ready for adventure, listen to them again, and we are here to help them get abroad.
I would say kind of helping your students, tying into what Amy said, think about academics, think beyond the location, and really look at the courses that are offered and the experience that's provided. It can be really exciting to think about all the places you can go, which is why we do have this huge portfolio of programs, but thinking about the academics and the goals and how those all tie in can help narrow down the choice and make the experience as successful as possible.
I would say that I'm sort of on the opposite end of Melanie. I studied abroad a lot as a student, and it can be very nerve-wracking. I would myself now, I would be more nervous to go and do what I did when I was young. But it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I mean, being an undergraduate in college is exciting enough in and of itself. It can be very nerve-wracking to go abroad, but I would encourage students to step out of their comfort zone. It takes a lot of courage to do that, and we're all here to support that courageous decision. And it is a nice combination of parents giving like a little nudge and also like respecting your students' choices. But yeah, don't pass it up. I would say like do everything you can to find something, even if it's a 1-week program that works for you to have some sort of abroad experience. It's valuable for a lifetime.
Panelists, the information you provided this evening was extremely helpful. I'm confident that families of Washington University students learned quite a bit from your presentations and answers. As a reminder, we are not able to cover and answer questions about students currently abroad or COVID-19. Please visit emergency.wusel.edu for more information about WashU's response to COVID-19 and to read Chancellor Martin's email sent to WashU communities and parents and family members earlier today. Families, we hope that you learned some valuable information this evening. Stay tuned for our next webinar, a summer send-off conversation, occurring on Tuesday, April 28th. You will be able to register for this webinar at families.wusel.edu. Thank you, and we'll see you then.
Thanks, everyone.